Hello guys, so today let's know about the evolutions. So what is evolutions? In biology, evolutions is the change in heritable traits of biological populations over successive generations. Evolutionary process gives rise to diversity at every biological organizations. Level of life on Earth shares a common ancestor known as the last universal ancestor. So, evolution is a process that results in changes in the genetic material of a population over time. Evolution reflects the adaptation of organisms to their changing environments and can result in altered genes, novel traits, and new species. In this picture, it is example of evolution. It shows that the physical and behavioral traits ensured by all people originated from ape-like ancestor and evolved over a period. Thank you guys. I hope you have learned.
Hi, my name is Rosario Abile from Evol Bio Block 3, and I'm going to discuss the history of evolution. Let's begin. The evolutionary concepts first appeared in early, but in Greek writings. Maybe because of that, a lot of them didn't notice the evolutionary concept. The two examples here are Anaximander and Empedocles. This is Anaximander, who proposed that animals could be transformed from one kind into another. And then, this is Empedocles. He speculated that they could be made up of various combinations of pre-existing parts. He talked about the elements because he believes that all matter are composed by four elements, which are fire, water, and earth. However, evolutionary theories were subsequently prevented from developing and challenging the belief of special creation for some 15 centuries due to the restraining influence of the church. The growth of scientific observation and experimentation led to some theories of evolution beginning to emerge from the mid-16th century. Despite the idea of human progress being central to the Enlightenment of the 18th century, this is Pierre-Louis Moreau de Maupertuis, who proposed the spontaneous generation of extinction of organisms as a part of his theory. And before there is a question, the question is, if a species can develop only from a pre-existing species, then how did life originate? One of the most popular was the spontaneous generation, because it said that living organism could originate from a non-living matter. The next here is George Louis Leclerc. He is a prominent naturalist of the time, explicitly considered and rejected the possible descent of several species from a common ancestor. He didn't believe that descent of several species came from a common ancestor. And this is Erasmus Darwin, the grandfather of Charles Darwin, offered some evolutionary speculations in his book Zoonomia, but they had no real influence on subsequent theories. The next is Carolus Linnaeus, who devised the hierarchical system of plant and animal classification that is still in use today in a modernized form, showed an inclination towards the ability of species to mutate as a result of his observation of variations among species. Here some example of his hierarchical classification. Now let's talk about Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, who stated clearly evolutionary theory. This theory, later known as the inheritance of acquired characteristics, but it was ridiculed at the time and thoroughly disproved in the 20th century, although it did contribute to the gradual acceptance of biological evolution as well as stimulating later studies. And for the last we have here are Charles Darwin and Alfred Wallace. Charles Darwin is the founder of the modern theory of evolution. In 1859, the first edition of his On the Origin of the Species was published and it sold out in just one day. While Alfred Wallace had also hit upon the idea of natural selection. However, his view differed to Darwin's because he did not think that natural selection was sufficient to account for the origin of man, but divine intervention had been required. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Princess Laika Labastilla. What we're going to talk about today is about Lamarckism or theory of inheritance of acquired theory of natural selection. First theory is Lamarckism or theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics. This theory is invented by Jean-Baptiste Pierre-Antoine de Monet Cavalier de Lamarck, also known as Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. He is a French naturalist, biologist, academic, and a soldier. Lamarck was an early proponent of the idea that biological evolution occurred and proceeded in accordance with natural laws. He is one of the best-known early evolutionists. Unlike Darwin, Lamarck believed that living things evolve in continuously upward direction from dead matter through simple to more complex forms toward human perfection. Species didn't die out in extinction, Lamarck claimed. Lamarck is the best known for his theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics. Lamarck have example in this theory, the giraffe's evolution. He said, Lamarck believed that the long neck of giraffe evolved as a generation of giraffes reached for every higher lives. Lamarck was struck by the similarities of many of the animals he studied and was impressed too by the burgeoning fossil record. It led him to argue that life was not fixed. Lamarck said if an organism changed during life in order to adapt to its environment, those changes are passed on its offspring. Second theory is the theory of natural selection. Charles Darwin and Alfred Wallace are the two co-discoverers of natural selection. Charles Darwin, also known as Charles Robert Darwin, was an English naturalist, geologist, and biologist, widely known for his contribution to evolutionary biology. Alfred Russel Wallace was an English naturalist, explorer, geographer, anthropologist, biologist, and illustrator. English naturalist Charles Darwin developed the idea of natural selection after 5 years voyage to study plants, animals, and fossils in South America and on islands in the Pacific. In 1859, he brought the idea of natural selection to the attention of the world in his best-selling book on the origin of species. Natural selection. What is natural selection? The theory of natural selection was explored by 19th-century naturalist Charles Darwin. Natural selection explained how genetic traits of the species may change over time. This may lead to speciation, the formation of the distinct new species. Natural selection is the process through which population of living organisms adapt and change. Individuals in a population are naturally variable, meaning that they are all different in some ways. This variation means that some individuals have traits better suited to the environment than others. Individuals with adapted traits that give them some advantage are more likely to survive and reproduce. These individuals then pass the adapted traits onto their offspring. Over time, disadvantageous traits become more common in the population. Through this process of natural selection, favorable traits are transmitted through generations. Natural selection can lead to speciation, where one species gives rise to a new and distinctly different species. It is one of the processes that drives evolution and helps to explain the diversity of life on Earth.
A pleasant day to everyone. My name is Kenneth Earl B. Paredes, and I will be discussing about mutationism and the modern synthetic theory. One theory of evolution is mutationism. But first of all, what is mutation? Basically, it refers to a change in an organism's DNA sequence. Mutations can occur from errors in DNA replication during cell division, exposure to mutagens, or a viral infection. Mutationism is an evolutionary theory proposed by Hugo de Vries together with other scientists somewhere in the 1890s, following the rediscovery of Mendel's theory of heredity. This theory emphasizes the role of mutations in the creation of new species or speciation. According to de Vries, two kinds of variations occur in organisms: ordinary variability and spontaneous alterations of genes caused by mutations. Ordinary variations do not have long-lasting effects on evolution and would not lead to the establishment of new species. Spontaneous alteration of genes, which greatly modifies an organism, would give rise to new species. Another theory of evolution is the modern synthetic theory. In 1937, Theodosius Dobzhansky published his book Genetics and the Origin of Species. He also introduced the modern synthetic theory in the said book. This evolutionary theory combines Charles Darwin's natural selection and Gregor Mendel's genetics. The concepts under this theory include genetic recombination, genetic variations, reproductive and geographical isolation, and natural selection. In his book, Dobzhansky defines evolution as the change in the allele frequency within a gene pool. According to this theory, new species will be formed when these changes in allele frequency become large enough.
Good day everyone, I'm Ronnie Abile, and today we will have a short recap and discussion on the 10 myths about evolution that I know we already discussed and learned from our regular classes.
First myth is that we humans evolved from monkey. This is one of the most common myths that we usually heard since we are kids. Some people are saying that we are just monkeys that evolved over the time, and maybe this is one of the reasons why some of the people criticize the evolution theory. But the truth is, we didn't evolve from monkeys. They just share a common ancestor, or there are just some characteristics that can be found in monkeys and humans. Number 2. Evolution is only a theory. Some of us believed before that if it is called theory, it is just an idea or opinion. But the truth is, the word theory has a different meaning inside the scientific community that it does elsewhere. Theory is usually supported by evidence, facts, and references, so we cannot say that it is just an idea or opinion. Number 3. If nobody saw it, we can't be sure it happened. If you saw a plate with leftovers, can we say that no one ate the food on that plate? Of course not. It is one of the examples that contradict the myths, just like in evolution. Maybe we can't notice it, but the truth is, we can see evolution happen, especially among organisms with short reproductive cycles that are subject to extreme environmental pressures, like bacteria. Number 4. Science can't say anything about the origins. This is absolutely and obviously wrong, since evolution actually comes into play after life is formed and science actually provided some historical evidence. Number 5. Evolution means humans are just animals. We all know humans are part of kingdom of Animalia, but we are not just an animals. The truth is, humans are the highest form of animals that are capable of rational thinking. We are the only creature on earth who can provide ideas,
can think critically and perform some things that other organisms can't do. Number 6. There are no intermediate fossils. This is a myth that is hard to believe, but still, there are people saying this. The truth is, fossil records show that there is a gradual accumulation of change, but that for long periods of time, little or no evolutionary change accumulates in most species, and many intermediate fossil forms have been discovered between fish and amphibians, amphibians and reptiles and mammals. Number 7. Evolution is not testable. Some people say, especially those who criticize evolution, that evolution is not testable, but the truth is, not all science investigation involve direct experiments, or not based on direct observation of the actual event of interest. Rather, it observed clues that left behind by the event and infers the information about the event from them. Number 8. Evolution is just random. If we heard random, we might think it means meaningless, but the truth is, it doesn't mean meaningless, but it is something cannot be predicted. With better accuracy and in science, the phenomenon is its own simplest description. Number 9. Complexity cannot arise naturally. It is just a myth because traits don't need to function for some ultimate final product in order to be selected for. Rather, if they provide any useful function at all, nature will select them. Number 10. Evolution can account for morality. Evolution is religion. Evolution is a scientific fact which is supported by an insurmountable of evidence, and evolution is completely based on evidences and facts, and also it is one of the most well-supported ideas in all of science. So that is the 10 myths about evolution, and I hope we gain more knowledge about it.
Hello, I am Karen Kataga and I will exemplify the evidences of evolution. What evidence do you have to support the claim that we have common ancestry? So first evidence are the homologous features. This means that two or more species share a unique physical feature like a complex bone structure or a body plan. Those features are homologous because they share a common ancestor. Here's an example. These are bone structures of four limbs of a human, dog, bird, and whale. Look carefully. They all have humerus, the light brown region, radius, all the white region of bone, ulna, all the red part of the bones, carpal, all the yellow part, and phalanges, all the dark brown parts of the bone. Those are each species' homologous features. This explains that there is a common ancestry between them through the bone structures have evolved independently in each species. Since they are adapted to function in different environments, proves that there is evolution. Next evidence is molecular biology. So if there is homologous structures, there is also similarities between biological molecules that reflects shared common and evolutionary ancestry or a common ancestor. So these are what all living organisms share. They share same genetic material or DNA. Yes, all organisms have identical DNA, but each organism's DNA is unique. They have similarities and differences because of genes. Another one is we share same or highly similar genetic codes. What says that all living organisms on Earth use the same genetic code. So another one is that we have same basic process of gene expression, or the transcription and translation. Genes may be expressed differently by phenotype, but they still have the same process of expression. And last is the same molecular building blocks such as amino acids. So one example in animals is the genome sequencing reveals that tigers and house cats have around 95% of the same DNA. Cats and tigers has same identical features, right? But what if I tell you that cats and humans share 90% of their DNA? So it turns out that they are common with us. So that also means that we share common ancestor. Next evidence is biogeography. This is the geographic evolution of organism and the movement of tectonic plates over geological time. This states that before the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea, the living organisms have already evolved, and after the breakup, they evolve independently in different regions on Earth. So example in the camel family, which all today's camel are descended from the same camel ancestors. It is believed that their ancestors live in North America, and due to the tectonic plates movement, they have now lived in different parts of the world. and differ in characteristics but share some basic similarities. Another evidence of evolution is fossil record. This has become evidence since age of fossils can be determined by rocks that build up in layers, which is what we call the strata. The top layers are the newer and the bottom were the older. This shows that the differences between fossils of the same species shows that there is evolution. So example in whales. Here's a fossil record that whales are first terrestrial animal and have evolved to adapt in a changing environment. So the last evidence is a direct observation of microevolution. As coincidence to evolution, this shows a direct observation. An example is the drug-resistant bacteria and pesticide-resistant insects. So example this insect, a peach potato or green peach aphid, which is a crop pest that had been reported of becoming a chemical-resistant insect, where the use of aphidicides for aphid control has forced them to develop resistance against chemicals. Overall, the given evidences to evolution are homologous features, molecular biology, biogeography, fossil record, and direct observation of microevolution. So that's all, and thank you.